So it's a little after midnight. I figured maybe I'd just make today's video nice and early. I don't know, guys. I started making these videos on January 1st because things had kind of fallen apart after I thought I'd gotten things back together, after they'd fallen apart, after I thought things had gotten to get better, after they'd fallen apart, and it just kind of seems like that keeps happening. I don't know if this job is going to work out. It seems like they want to try to put this on me, that the oven went out. Feel as if I should have tried. I guess they're saying I should have turned the gas down for the oven, but I'm remembering that day. And first of all, the knob for turning the gas down is broken. It's not even there. It's fallen off. And I know this because it's a huge pain in the ass to try to turn that oven up or down because of this. Typically, you just leave one of those gas ovens at the same temperature and you just turn the oven on and off. I have a picture, maybe I'll try to upload it here and show. And that's all you need to do. You don't have to turn the oven down and off and turn the gas off. We have to do all of those things because the thermocouple, whichever it's called, in ours isn't working properly on the top oven. And so if the pilot light goes out, then the oven won't work. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, if the pilot light goes out, it won't shut off the gas like it's supposed to, and will continue to just keep filling up with gas, which is what happened here. And I was pretty frustrated today when they said that, because for me, I'm like, well, you have an oven that is hard to even turn on and off because the switch there is not working properly for whatever reason. Turning the gas off and or up and down isn't that feasible because the knob is broken off and the thermocoupling is broken. So if it does happen to go out and no one knows, this thing just fills up with gas. This is all very dangerous. And rather than taking any responsibility for that and trying to find a way to fix it, one of the owners seems to want to try to put that on me, and the other one is telling me that it's not even possible to fix this thing, that apparently we have a magic oven that is unfixable, and so we just are using it like that. And I'm not even the only person that's had an accident like this. It's been the worst one, but another employee had a very similar thing happen to him before this happened to me. Apparently what happened is that the hood wasn't on, the ventilation system that you need to have that will suck out any gas and stuff like that. And if that's not on, for whatever reason, there's not enough circulation and it puts the pilot light out, and then again it starts filling up with gas. When I came in, that wasn't on, so I turned it on, and then I checked the pilot light and it was out. And I didn't remember this until they said something about turning it down, how I should have apparently not turned it up or whatever, and I thought I remembered coming in and everything was just up and being like, well, it's really hard to turn the thing down because it's just a little piece of metal. Again, I'll put the picture up, or have put the picture up so you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, trying to dig your nail in there or get something to actually turn it up or whatever is a real challenge. And then I was like, yeah, I know this because I could just remember recently having a hard time turning it back up and being really frustrated about it. And I was like, oh yeah, that was that day. I had come in, the vent wasn't on, but the ovens were on and the gas was on, but the pilot light was out and the oven was turned down on the top. So I thought the problem was that it wasn't getting enough gas. And I turned it up so that it would get enough gas to light. And apparently there was already a buildup of gas. and this happened. Because I didn't know that the reason that the flame had gone out was because the vent wasn't running. I've never worked someplace where the vent being on or off turned off the pilot light, because it's not supposed to. The pilot light is supposed to just stay on to burn off whatever excess gas there is, and as a control switch to turn off the oven if it goes out, or turn off the gas if it goes out. And it's frustrating. Like, I really liked this. I liked this job. It was close. It paid well. I thought this was kind of like the chance to kind of start rebuilding my life here a little bit. And now it's after 2.5 months, I'm making another video of like, hey, I don't think I have a job anymore. I haven't quit, haven't fired me. I don't know what I get. It kind of feels like in a weird limbo. I think that part of it for them is I have a feeling they think that if they admit any responsibility, then it makes them liable, and I'll be able to sue them. So if they just kind of keep finding a way for it to not be their fault, then I can't sue. But New York has workers' compensation laws and insurance, so as long as my medical bills get paid with no problem, and as long as my time off for the injury gets paid, which that's what the insurance is there to cover, it shouldn't be a problem. Their premiums might go up, but that might be the cost of running a business with a potentially deadly piece of equipment that you're not keeping up to maintenance. And past that, if they go, yeah, you're right, like, we need to fix this, I can't sue them. It's kind of the point of the insurance. It removes that liability for them. I don't know if they know that. I don't know if that's why they're trying to kind of be like, no, this is how it's actually your fault. But I think the scarier thing to me is how the one made it seem that way, and when I called the other one, or when I honestly, I tried to make the work happen today, but with the burns that I have, they're pretty sensitive to the heat. I can't actually wear a glove because of where the skin's blistering on this, and the fact that the oven's not fixed is kind of scary. That pilot light could go out for any reason, and we'd never know, and the gas would just never shut off. And I feel like next time it could kill someone. It's just making it bomb. It's just filling that place with gas. If I had come in and not checked that pilot light, just saw that the oven was turned down and the vent was off, and just flipped the vent on and turned the heat and turned the gas up all the way, I don't know if it would have been enough to clear out the gas. And it would have just been filling up until, I mean, clearly the vent was on and it wasn't enough to clear out the gas, so that this didn't happen when the thing had been on low the whole time. If I turned it up to high, I feel like that building would have just kept filling with gas until it finally hit an ignition source and just everyone just died. And it's scary. It's scary that the one guy just seems to want to try to, rather than take any responsibility for that and take it serious, wants to just find a way to make it not his problem. And the other owner, when I talked to him, made it sound like there was just no way of fixing it. As if there, and I can't believe that. I can't believe that there's an oven that is just unfixable, that they can't put another thermal coupling in. And honestly, even if that is the case, even if the oven is unfixable, I feel like that's a situation where you go, okay, you need to get another oven then. You can't keep operating with something that is a potential bomb just because it's expensive to fix it or get another one. So I don't know what to do. There's a part of me that feels like I need to call 311 and report them there. Potentially also OSHA and report them, and maybe National Grid might also be someone that I need to get in contact with, because I know they take gas leaks and stuff like that pretty seriously. And have someone with more authority than I have come and explain to them why they can't just run an oven like that. They seem to think that, like, well, we just need to be more careful. But it's like, well, that's the policy they've had, and this is the second time they've had an accident like this. And the second one, mine, has sent someone to the emergency room. Me. So, like, clearly it's not a working policy. And it's like, even if they get rid of me for somebody who will deal with that oven like that, it's going to take one time. It's going to take one time of somebody coming in and lighting those pilot lights, turning that gas on, lighting those pilot lights, turning the gas up, and forgetting to hit that vent, forgetting to turn the ventilation on, which is an easy thing to do, clearly. And I feel like they could kill people, multiple people. They're just going to make a bomb back there without anyone knowing until it goes off. But I also don't know what I will do without this job. I will probably honestly have to move back upstate. I feel like I've tried as hard as I can to stay down here, but the real estate is insane. The job market and what I do sucks. I haven't been able to find other work. I feel like potentially I could go and get enough people together to invest and make my own place, but I don't even know if that's something I want to do anymore. You know, it's like if they legalize steroids, then everyone has to start taking steroids that wants to compete in the sport, right? Because you can say, I don't want to do that stuff, but if everyone you're competing in so that you can make a living is doing them, you'd have to start doing them. And I look at trying to open a restaurant down here, it's like, man, I want to do it the right way if I do it. But you're dealing with people that operate businesses like this by breaking every rule that they have to and putting other people's lives in danger. And, you know, just honestly, just this industry is so shitty. I've met so few good owners of pizzerias or restaurants down here. And even the few good owners there were still had like some shitty person working right underneath them. I remember when my dad got sick with cancer and they gave him 6 weeks, which was actually exactly what it was. When he first got sick, I had just become GM of a pizza place a couple months earlier. And about 2 weeks in, the owner came in and said he had to talk to me after we closed. And I said, okay, and we closed down. And he goes, I have to close the pizza place. I have to close the pizzeria, a place called Cowboy. And I went, oh, when? He said, tonight. He said I'd done a good job, and it had been more profitable recently since I'd taken over, but the damage had kind of been done from previous GMs that didn't just know what they were doing, and that had really cost us a lot. And so I kept, for the next 4 weeks, driving back and forth between upstate and the city so I could keep trying to find work down here, and also visit my dad, for some of the last times that he was going to be alive. And I found a place to work, and it was the guy owned a bunch of pizza places in the Lower East Side, a lot of sleigh shops and stuff. There were a couple over near Wall Street. And he's a pretty famous pizza maker, apparently. I don't really follow much of the cult of personality and the pizza stuff, but this guy, I think his name was Hockey. He kept saying like hockey, like the sport. but I think it was like spelled different, like HAKKI or something. But he had just so many pictures of him like spinning pizzas and stuff like that, and with celebrities and everything. And so he was not really involved, and he seems like a decent enough guy, but his assistant, well, I don't even remember the guy's name at this point, had me bouncing all over from different restaurants that he owned. And I even went to one near Wall Street, and it was their busiest day, and you know, everyone that worked there was like, thank God you showed up, you really helped out for this, you know, yada yada yada. I was like, nice, no problem, whatever. I think maybe the next week or whatever was when my dad finally passed away, and I told the guy, I was like, listen, I'm sorry, the assistant that worked for hockey, I told him, listen, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to need next week off so I can go upstate and go to my dad's funeral. I think I even told him I could work like the Monday and Tuesday or whatever, but I just needed, you know, like a day to get up there and go to the funeral and come back. And, you know, he said, all right. And I went up to my dad's funeral and I came back, and all of a sudden I wasn't getting any of my calls returned. And apparently you know, just didn't get any more shifts. They just didn't talk to me ever again. I think it was a month, maybe a year. I don't remember. We were talking over a decade now since, but I did end up talking to hockey after that. And I think he had put up an ad or something, and I was looking for a job. And when I heard his voice, I was like, oh, I have worked for you before. And he goes, oh, really? And I go, yeah, I worked over here and like did all this. So he goes, yeah, I do remember you. He goes, yeah, my assistant said that you weren't reliable, that you like kept asking for time off. And I told him, I was like, dude, I asked for a few days off to go to my father's funeral. And apparently that was asking too fucking much. That made me unreliable to work at a fucking pizzeria to this guy. After I already had shown up and worked at multiple of his places in between driving up and down state to visit my fucking dad. And I just feel like that's every place. The place Paris Shades that I was at last year, I did everything I could to open that place, and I got lied to the entire time. I got told that we were going to open in October of 2022, and then November, and then December, and then we were definitely going to be open for New Year's, and then we were definitely going to be open for February, and it just kept going with this, like, oh, we're going to get the cocktail, and just pushing it back, and we had no sign. We couldn't, they wouldn't even go get a fucking sandwich board. People didn't know that we were open. And I kept dealing with that, and there was a point in spring where they were like, listen, we're really tight on money, can we not pay you for a little bit? We'll pay you when we get whatever grant or loan or whatever we're trying to get. And I said, you know what, that's fine. For right now, you guys have tried to help me with pay when you can and stuff, so, you know, as long as you pay me back, sure. And that went on for a month to the point where they owed me well over $4,000. And I had to be like, listen, I really do need that money now. And that took a while to finally get that back. And I found out they weren't paying the other employees, and they weren't giving them the tips. And I thought things got fixed, and then last May, I guess, after months of them doing this would have been the spring of 23. I had my landlords tell me that they were just going to up the rent by hundreds of dollars, which they weren't even allowed to do. Like literally like a 3-day notice thing. Like it's the end of April, and they told me like that May it was going to be going up, and I had to call them and tell them that they couldn't legally do that. And then the woman that I was seeing went, I would say, extra crazy, to the point where we had to break up for what was the final time and she would come home at 9 in the morning drunk and break into my room to the point where I had to actually get a restraining order, because that's what the cops told me I had to do, in order to be able to have her removed from my room if things like this had kept going on. Which then, in retaliation, she took a restraining order out against me, which was like, fine, whatever, I don't fucking care. But it clearly made it that something where I was like, well, I need to move out. And at the same time, once again, this place stopped paying me. The first time I said it was okay, but this time I was like, guys, I need you to pay me. I had just paid off my credit cards and stuff and got my credit score back into like a respectable number of like 720 or 730 or something like that. And now all of a sudden that was getting ruined because I was having to use those more to make up for the fact that these guys weren't paying me and that we were still not open, and I was still getting lied to about if we were going to open and when we were going to open and what we were going to be doing. To the point where, again, they owed me thousands of dollars, and it actually put me in a position where I couldn't rent any place. Like, I'm lucky to have gotten this apartment, and I had to have a friend co-sign for that because I couldn't show that I had enough money because they just weren't paying me. And it was just so frustrating. And they had been telling me they were going to get me insurance, health insurance and dental and everything for 8 months. And I remember when I found out that we still needed like 20 to 30 grand to get open. And I went and talked to people, and I found that I could get that money together. And I came and I sat down with them and I said, listen guys, I can get the money, but we got to do this stuff the right way. And Andrew, one of the owners, instead decided to go to his mom and beg her for the money, which she gave him the 30 grand, apparently reluctantly. Because apparently I wasn't the only person, obviously, that they were lying to about the condition of the restaurant. And declined my offer, which would have, obviously, if I went and got that much money put into the business, I would want something for it, a part of the business and stuff like that. But rather than give up any of that, because mommy had enough money, that's what he did. And they did pay me back then, and he showed up with the paperwork to fill out for the insurance, and I told him I had to quit. That I couldn't keep working for him because I didn't know, even though he just finally paid me back, if I was going to keep getting paid. How long was it going to be before I was again sitting there being like, dude, you owe me thousands of dollars. And I need it, and it's fucking up my life, and you don't have it. And it's just, and before that was a place called Baby Luke's, and I feel like I was doing a good job there. In fact, I know I was doing a good job there. Not only were my food costs good and my labor costs good, like we're talking like 20%, 23% tops, but I had just gone in and found a duplicate invoice that had happened before I even started, or maybe the week that I started, something that wasn't my responsibility. It was like my training week. It was something when we had another GM that was leaving and was apparently just not paying attention, but it was like $5,000 or something like that. But I found that and fixed their clerical or their accounting or error or whatever that they'd had and having a huge problem with. And I introduced specials. So the owner of the hospitality group that owned a share of or a portion of the business personally emailed me and told me I was getting a 10% raise, which I think put me at like $82K a year. And like a week later, I'm on the train talking with the PR person because the specials have been getting so much engagement on on Instagram or whatever other platforms they had, and they just wanted to like find a way to like streamline it and know how to post and everything. And I was like, okay, well, I'll call you as soon as I get in. And I get in to find the I don't even know, assistant to the guy that owned the place, and she was like the unofficial general manager, had taken down all of my specials and stripped any power that I had, and was trying to dig up any dirt she could find on me to try to get me fired. I think that she found out that I got a raise and that she didn't, and got angry, and so decided that like, well, fuck me. And it just feels like it's always something like that. It just feels like it's always, I can try to get things back. And it's not that I'm perfect. It's not that there haven't been jobs that like I didn't let my emotions get to me and I didn't walk out of. Many of them paid like shit. And it wasn't like they were career enders for me that I was like, oh, I'm making so much money here or anything. But like, still I should have toughed it out. But there's like 10 places to every one for that. And whereas I feel like I should have done a little bit better, it's not something that I regret or wish I could go back to any of those places, because they've all just been terrible. It's a really terrible industry down here. It's why if you go into most pizza places, you see somebody who's clearly an immigrant working the job, because they're like, we'll just hire whoever we can get, and that we feel like we can take advantage of. And somebody that is here, especially maybe illegally, or needs to be working for a visa, or have to leave, is going to be a lot easier to get to do a job where they're not paid enough, overworked, and in dangerous conditions. And I think it's funny, I think a lot of people don't take it that serious, but I started off doing delivery, like delivering pizza, and that was one of the most dangerous jobs in the United States for a while, if not the most dangerous job, because you think about it and you're like, well, how dangerous is it to like drive to somebody's house with pizza? It's like, well, driving can be pretty fatal, but also if you think about it, if you go back 10 years or so, not all of food delivery was on an app. Like, I'm sure you could do online ordering and stuff, but for the most part, even when I worked at that place, Cowboy, like 11 years ago, most of it were phone orders. And the deliveries were done on a bike, and since people weren't paying by giving a credit card over the phone most times, it meant that you were biking to whatever part of the Lower East Side, including projects, with probably $100 in cash to make change, depending on what people had, like the idea that somebody would order in a pizza and then just rob you was something that happened all the time. And I think having, as much as I enjoy making pizza, at least as a job, I think that I've just kind of hit a point where the actual industry is just so terrible and treats people so terrible that I just can't do it anymore. And it feels like the harder you work and the better you try to do in it, the worse it is. And then whenever I do try to think about opening someplace, or hear about somebody else opening someplace, I find out that they just had enough money, normally their family, they'll talk a big talk about like how like they very self-made, but then you find out that really it came with being able to get hundreds of thousands of dollars from either a family member, or go to a bank and get a loan for that because a family member could sign off on something that big because they had the money. Like it's not somebody that worked in a pizza place and learned what they were doing really well to the point where they were good enough to like run a pizza place and then open their own place. I'm not saying that never happens. I'm just saying like it's not something you can really rely on. So I don't know. I think that if this job doesn't work out, which it doesn't seem like it's going to, and I don't know if there's a way to make it work, and I don't know what else to do, and yeah, probably just gonna have to at least to kind of regroup and figure out something better, go back upstate. But I'm trying not to let it get me down too much. But it is difficult. I'm certainly not a perfect person. I have my flaws, but I think at the end of the day, I work hard and I'm pretty reliable and responsible, and you know, I never wanted millions of dollars or to be famous or anything like that. I just wanted a job that paid. You know, I thought it would be nice to have a job that could pay me enough that I could afford to pay rent and eat food that was decent, and you know, make some art and music on the side. You know, again, not like none of these guitars are thousands of dollars. Like that was like a $200 guitar. I think I got that one for $275. The Yamaha that I played in other stuff was $75 at a pawn store. The piano was free. I took it from my ex when I left that relationship. Honestly, I think the most expensive thing I have is the drum set, because it's electric, and I think it was around $600 when I bought it. And again, it's not like I have expensive tastes. I do like to do things, and it would be nice to be able to afford things like that. But, and you know, again, maybe go on a vacation once a year someplace. But again, it's not like I do that. It's not like I go on crazy trips or out for crazy nights and spend a lot of money on alcohol and any of this shit. I just still can't make it. Still just something, either I or the universe or whatever just fucks it up for me every time, and I'm just getting so tired of it. It's getting really hard to just keep restarting. I'm almost 40, and it feels like, well, when my dad died 11 years ago, I just become the general manager / head chef of a pizza place, and I haven't gotten anything above that, and it's very depressing. There have been some good times. I've gotten to go on some fun trips, and I have gotten to be like, you know, again, manager of places and chef at places and make extra money doing this, that, and the other thing. But man, it is still been pretty difficult past that. I'm tired of it. So obviously this is a longer kind of rambling video, but it's been a long day, and it is kind of the purpose of some of these videos, is to kind of keep track of progress or lack thereof over the course of this year. So maybe good to get all of this stuff out and on record for those purposes. But yeah, past that, it just kind of sucks, guys. So, well, I think some of the ointment that I put on my face might have gotten into my eye, and I'm also pretty tired, so I'm gonna go to bed. But if you actually watch this whole thing, that's cool. Thanks. I don't know why you would, but if you did, awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna go get some sleep. You guys have a good one. Talk to you again. Not, I guess, tomorrow Thursday, but tomorrow Friday. But yeah, that's it. Peace.